What is up, my friends? Welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I am your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub. And on this week's show, is The Rock really interested in buying a CFL team? Plus, we got the latest XFL player movement and more. Plus, we're going to get into some other things about this Washington football team, DC Defenders thing, and I've got some things to say about that. So first, how do you get in touch with the show? First, you email podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692 extension 3. We appreciate that. And leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. That would be really appreciated. Give us a review. Helps with the algorithm, puts the word out about the XFL News Hub show. And of course, always smash that like button and subscribe to spread the word that there is something other than the NFL out there right now. So thanks for everybody for joining in. We are live on the YouTube and on the Facebooks every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we have our CFL show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Lots of fun stuff going on in the CFL world. You want to check that out. For links to the show, our YouTube channel, just look in the description of your wherever you get this show, whether it's on podcast or YouTube or Facebook. We appreciate everybody, of course, joining in the chat as well. So before I get started on the news, there's really not a lot going on this week, but I really wanted to talk about something and get off my chest first and foremost. So I'm thinking basically we're going to take a little break after today for a little while until there's some more XFL or USFL news, and plus you have Monday Night Football beginning. But one of the reasons why I'm concerned about my beloved XFL league is this. If I can pull up, there we go. So we haven't heard anything from the XFL really in a year. There's been a couple tweets from Danny Garcia, or Instagram posts, The Rock wearing the XFL belt. We had the big announcement about the XFL and CFL talks, and then those broke off, and it was really just this kind of whimper, we'll see you in 2023, and it's been a ghost town ever since. We've heard nothing going on. Now, let's preface this about this Washington football team name is what I want to kind of get into as we start the show and welcome everybody in the chat joining us. Remember back when the XFL this past year and the NFL came to the XFL and said, you know what, you can't use our trademark. You see, the Houston Roughnecks oil rig logo is too similar to our oil rig logo from the Houston Oilers, so you can't use that. Oh, and also, the New England Patriots logo is too similar to your secondary logo from the Houston Roughnecks. And the XFL, conceivably, what it seems like, was like, okay, well, we're just going to back off that. And, I mean, because, yeah, there's similarities, and do you really want to go to battle with the NFL over these logos when you can just come up with something else? Fine, guys. Fine, NFL. You want to be that way? Goodbye. Take the logo, and we'll see you later. Then this came out, and this really kind of disturbed me to a great deal. So the Washington football team, which used to be called the Redskins, and then they were the Washington football team. So according to this post from CBS Sports, the Washington football team has narrowed down its list of possible permanent names down to 3 finalists. And this was the names. The 3 finalists were selected from this list of 8 candidates. This list of 8 candidates. The 8 candidates are the Armada, Presidents, Brigade, Red Hogs, Commanders, Red Wolves, Washington football team, and Defenders. I'm sorry. The DC Defenders, the Washington Redskins, could be named the DC Defenders? How is that possible? That's like me going to New York, and New York has the the Long Island Ducks is like an independent baseball team. And that's like me going in there and being like, let's change the Ducks names to, I don't know, off the top of my head, the Yankees. You can't do that. There's no way you could do that. And vice versa. So why is it okay for the NFL to use the defenders' names? The XFL owns that name. It is a football team in Washington, D.C. It is right there near the nation's capital. It's right across the street from Nationals Park. How in the world can the NFL and Washington football team even consider using that name? Unless the XFL is no more. That is the only conclusion that I could come up with. There is no freaking way. Like, it is the complete opposite of what happened before. The NFL said, hey, man, this is too close to what we're doing. You can't use it. Now the roles are reversed. The NFL is like, we want to use this name. What are you going to do about it? Well, clearly the XFL has the trademark for DC Defenders football team. How is this even on the list? How is this even possible? Unless the XFL, clearly the NFL and XFL, there's people within Redbird Capital that are that know people in the NFL. Like, clearly they've been talking about this. And clearly there had to be discussions at some point of the DC, the Washington football team using the DC Defenders name. And are you telling me that the XFL was just like, you own the trademark. You could get millions off of that if they use that. You could sue them for millions. You are a football team in DC. You own the rights to that name. And the fact that it's on this list, and the fact that we got a whimper when it comes to the CFL talks being off. Yeah, they said they wanted a global game. Yes, do I believe in Danny and The Rock? They've also talking about Terramana tequila and clothing and football shoes and clothing lines and movies and all this other stuff. In any of those realms of discussion did the XFL ever come up? You telling me that nobody in there asked at some point, well, how is the XFL going? I think now I'm beginning to think that the CFL play was a ditched effort to try to get a better TV deal. And when that fell through, and the reason why we haven't heard anything is because they couldn't get a TV deal. And I'm not feeling very bright and futuristic about the XFL. Now that could change. And that's why I'm like, I'm done doing this show. I love doing this show. I love talking about it, but I'm not going to spend all this time prepping and not hanging out with my family. And, I could be working on other things like a CFL website. And when they actually do play football, even though they might have a little issue this week, I'm frustrated. And a lot of fans are frustrated too. It's not just me. But really what kind of threw me over the top was the fact that again, look at this list. The Defenders, the XFL's franchise name, is on this list. Now, it's a great name. Don't get me wrong. If I was them, I would want to use it. But where's the XFL like saying, bros, you can't use that? They all know each other. They know this. There's no way. Unless the XFL is not anywhere close to happening. Now, tomorrow, we could get a big announcement and the XFL is coming back and whatever. Honestly, now, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm definitely more the glass is half empty than the glass is half full. I think they tried. I think they tried to put stuff together. I think they put money. One of my concerns is what Oliver Luck had talked about early on was that having too many cooks in the kitchen to get a football league off the ground is very difficult to do. And maybe that was why there was a lot of people at Redbird Capital. Some want to pull the trigger, some don't want to pull the trigger. They don't want to spend the money. They didn't get the TV deal they wanted to, or they were going to wait till next year. I mean, you're talking Danny Garcia and The Rock could not lock in a TV deal that was suitable. If they can't do it, no one can. Or maybe they're asking for too much money, and Redbird's like, listen, we can't do this unless we get a $200 million TV contract, and no one's willing to give you a 200, even with Danny Garcia and The Rock attached to it, and all the extra programming that they would bring to the table, and all this other stuff. Now, maybe after this movie's over, and which is done well, that maybe they're going to focus their attention on the XFL, but we've heard nothing. Nothing. The whimper off of the CFL announcement that they were done talking, the 50% off everything in the store, getting rid of the merch. I thought maybe they were lining up some new kind of merch. And now this DC Defenders name that you own, Redbird Capital, Danny Garcia, and The Rock, you own that name. They can't use it without your permission. Are you going to rename all the teams? Like, you need to turn the light switch on and start playing. And if you're dinking around like, oh, well, maybe we should change the name of the DC team, or maybe we should change the name of the Houston, like, just keep the damn names and put the games on the field. And I hope that's not what they're doing. It's like, well, you know what? Maybe we'll just change because there's domain names, there's rights, there's attorney's fees. You talk about the millions of dollars that were spent to try to lock this name down for the XFL. And now they're just going to give it away to the Washington football team and Daniel Snyder's wife, because now she's in charge, because he's, Daniel Snyder. Heard nothing but wonderful things about him. No, never heard a good thing about that. Well, I did kind of hear something, but that was long ago. Not the new owner, since he's been the owner, let's put it that way. Not heard a damn good thing about him. So my friends, my hands are up now, and I'm like, hey, I've kept the lights on throughout this whole thing. We were pushing, we heard good things about, the buyer was coming and all this other stuff. At this point, we have Monday Night Football starting. We have, the CFL season is roaring ahead. And my thing is like, what are we going to come on here and talk about? There's literally nothing to talk about. It's not like we can speculate on the new cities or the names. Like, there's nobody even hired for all we know. And the excitement is gone, especially after the CFL announcement thing. And then it was like quietly like, oh, yeah, we're going to start in 2023. And that was it. So let me know what you guys think in the chat. But again, this is what kind of just threw me for a loop. Let me know in the chat. Leave a comment on our sites. But yeah, the Washington football team's list of possible names were selected from 8 candidates. Armada, Presidents, Brigade, Red Hogs, Commanders, Red Wolves, Washington football team, and Defenders. And Defenders. Now, I'm still holding out hope, my friends. I still am. But at this point, between Monday Night Football being on and basically having no news, and then this too, I'm becoming very skeptical if the XFL will return. Especially, I watched the AAF documentary. I have to finish it. I just have like 20 minutes left. Which was a great documentary. Again, audio issues, totally. Listened to it on a different TV, and I'm like, I had to crank the audio up all the way and put on the, I don't know if I'm the only one that has done that. But the fact that the Defender's name is on that list really just kind of made me like, all right, man, there's just no freaking way. I'm just telling you, like, there's a bunch of negative things going on there, and we'll just have to see. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, that's my take on that. So let's get into some other XFL news of the week. Very little. Some good news for XFL fans. Detroit Lions signed Jordan Ta'amu. That's pretty cool. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, reported via Twitter that the Detroit Lions signed the former Battlehawks QB. So now we have both Battlehawks QBs back in the NFL. He was recently with the Chiefs, served on the practice squad, and then he was, he's bounced around to a couple teams. He was on the Patriots had him in, a bunch of little teams had him in. So Jordan Ta'amu is on the practice squad. That's a good thing. We'll see if he sticks around in the practice squad of the NFL. So this story came out, and I found this kind of interesting. Potential buyer of the Calgary Stampeders of the CFL has an XFL connection. Now, things have been very quiet in the XFL ever since the CFL and XFL ended their talks about before the CFL season began. The only news about the XFL has come in an interview when CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie discussed the talks between the two leagues. That's the only time we've ever heard anybody mention the XFL. But that doesn't mean we haven't heard things. And a rumor floating around the last several weeks has finally seen the light of day thanks to the Rod Peterson Show. Got a great show. Always check him out. We have links in the show notes for that. It involves the sale of the CFL's Calgary Stampeders to a buyer with an XFL connection. Now, Peterson's connection with the CFL runs deep. Spent 20 years as the voice of the CFL Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're doing great this season. And he had this to say about the Stampeders' potential new owner.
I'm sure once the Flames unload the Stampeders, things will get better. He says that tongue-in-cheek. Mm-hmm. I got a tip, and by the way, I will show it to you in the break. I DM on the sale of the Stampeders.
Okay.
The buyer, I'm told, from the same guy who gave me the tip in the first place, which coincidentally has been confirmed by a lot of Calgary football people that this is a thing. They got a buyer for the Calgary Stampeders. The guy has a connection to the XFL. Again, you may not like what I have to say, but I'm not lying to you. And so I'm going back and forth with the guy, and I'm like, wouldn't it be something if it was The Rock? And he said, my guy, he said, wouldn't it be something? Come full circle. Play with the Stampeders, got cut, come back and buy them. Well, that's cute. I look at it as this. Who doesn't want to go back and buy the place that cut you or fired you and burn it down? I'm not saying The Rock wants to go and burn down the Calgary Stampeders, but for him to come back and peel off the cash to buy the Calgary Stampeders?
Oh, yeah.
Could happen.
That's Ari Gold style, and he comes in with a paintball gun. Right? Everybody wants to own. You want to fire me? Okay, I'll come back and buy you, and I'll own the whole place.
So there you have it. That is the audio. Now, the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation, CSEC, owners of the Calgary Flames of the NHL and Calgary Stampeders, have been rumored to trying to unload the Stamps for some time. A CFL franchise value is not anywhere close to the value of an NFL franchise. In April, Ottawa Red Blacks play-by-play man A.J. Jakobic told Peterson a former CFL executive told him that some major market CFL franchises are worth $1 each. He said, quote, Toronto Argonauts, what are they worth? $1. Montreal Alouettes, what are they worth? $1. Jakobic said, a CFL exec told him. Other CFL franchises like the Rough Riders and Red Blacks are worth in the millions. Now, we are unsure where the Stampeders valuation falls in, but has never been lumped in with the big money makers or the big money losers of the CFL. Now, could The Rock be the buyer? Now, Rod implies, a little tongue-in-cheek way, that a person with XFL ties could be The Rock himself. The Rock played with the Stamps for a brief time and was cut with $7 in his pocket, hence the name of his and Danny Garcia's production company, $7 Production. They just had another successful movie release along with Disney's with the Jungle Cruise. If you didn't watch it, it was a good one. This year's season cliffhanger of the Young Rock on NBC had a young Dwayne Johnson making his trip to Canada to try out for the CFL. Having The Rock come full circle and purchase the team that cut him would make news worldwide, as Dwayne The Rock Johnson is a worldwide megastar. You all know who he is. The tie into next year's Young Rock would be huge and create quite the buzz. Another potential name could be Redbird Capital. However, it is highly unlikely Redbird would invest in a CFL team. They have deals with the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees, franchises that are worth billions, just to name a few of them, underneath Redbird Capital. So they would not be interested in the Calgary Stampeders. But in a vacuum with very little XFL news, this could be nothing at all. The CFL has struggled to find owners for teams over the years. They just had BC Lions get a new owner. And this rumor might be out there just to close a deal with another potential partner or use The Rock's name to get more money or interest in the team. You never know. People can play this game all around. They float this rumor out that maybe The Rock is, and then all of a sudden whoever's might be in line to buy the Calgary Stampeders is going to be like, oh, yeah. Oh, if The Rock's going to buy it, I'm going to put in an extra $1 million. You never know how these things could play out. How crazy would it be, though, if The Rock, who has definitely the money to do it, made this deal? For those who say The Rock knows nothing about running a football team, they would be a fool, a total fool to suggest he would. He would hire, of course, the best talent to run the team, as most professional owners of teams do in pro sports. The question is, what would be the point of owning a CFL team for The Rock? Maybe owning a CFL franchise would scratch that itch of being part of football, but where does that leave the XFL? Could you own a CFL franchise in a pro football league in the United States? Where would that leave the XFL and his priorities? Clearly, I don't know where the XFL priorities are right now. Maybe this is the itch. He wants to get involved in football. It's a little too complicated to do the XFL, so why not just buy the Calgary Stampeders and kind of implement some things that you want to do there? That could be it. Then there is the impact on the CFL, and how would that change the balance of power in the CFL boardroom, for example? Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver were all more bullish when it comes to talks with the XFL, but I don't know what the XFL has got going on right now. If The Rock owns the Stampeders, that would make it 4 teams potentially interesting in changing parts of the CFL's business model. If 7 Bucks Productions were pursuing a major TV deal, The Rock owning a CFL franchise and going back to Canada would definitely make for some great television, but would it make great business sense for him in the long term, and would he even have the time to do it? Maybe they could package that piece with whatever TV package they're going with, but still, is that going to make the difference? Maybe. Like everything in the XFL the past year plus, we have more questions than answers, but what we do always have doing is waiting for an answer and direction. You can watch that full episode of the Rod Peterson Show. That was the August 17th, 2021 edition of his program. Do I think The Rock is going to buy the Calgary Stampeders? I don't think so. That's interesting that his name would be put out there. Like I said, maybe it's just a way to garner interest, but who knows? Who knows? Do I doubt it? Yeah, I don't see the business aspect for him other than a short-term pop. Why would he want to do that other than, some kind of personal thing? And then honestly, if he were to buy the Calgary Stampeders, where would that leave the XFL? Why would he need the XFL at that point? He'd be focusing on his franchise and making that franchise good and successful and helping the CFL league become good and successful. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe it's like, all right, well, we're not going to do the XFL right now. Just, we got everything that's going on in the world, but I'm going to buy the CFL. I'm going to buy the Calgary Stampeders and get involved with the CFL for a while, and then maybe we'll bring back the XFL at some point. Who knows, my friends, but with very little chatter going on, very little rumors, very little talk behind the scenes, I think because there's really nothing going on right now. I hope I'm wrong, but would it be a fantastic story and generate some buzz and excitement for The Rock and the CFL if he were to buy the Stampeders? Yes. The question would be, even if that did happen, what is going on with the XFL then? And that might not be an answer we want to hear. Scam alert, scam alert. The NGL has completed its rebuilding into the UFO. Yes, we call it a scam. So as of 8/17, what was once the website of the National Gridiron League has now been taken down. However, the site has a new venture. The United Football League is up and running. To their credit, the site looks very professional. It refers to teams under the NGL umbrella, is joining the new league and considers the National Gridiron League as now defunct. Attempts to reach the league were met with automated responses, but we do know that the same person responsible for 3 years of promises given to players and coaches never being fulfilled is still in charge. Camps are being scheduled with a price between $100 and $125. We advise you not to waste your time and money. This is not only is myself, but Josh Davis says this too. Joe McLennan has put years into making deals with sponsors and not coming through. We have coaches who can attest that they were never paid. After 3 years, they've never made it to a training camp. Uniforms were never ordered. Hotel rooms were never paid for, and not a player or coach saw a practice field that they didn't take it upon themselves to do. No venue leases have ever been signed, and no team has ever played. As of 8/20, there has been no movement to secure the trademark for the UFL nor United Football League. All are under status dead, according to the United States Patent and Trademark Office. We write this as another warning that until it has been proven otherwise that they will never play, please do not trust this league or whatever they say. This is still in progress. We'll continue to bring updates, but we're always at XFL News Hub trying to look out for players trying to make it in some of these other leagues, and this one has been flagged as a no-go. Forget the USFL. All right, we'll be back with your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today.
All right, we are back. Let's take a look at some of our friends in the social media. On the Facebook, Jared says, Danny, you can't be the first woman to run a sports league if you don't play a game. So far, Danny Garcia has totally let me down. I'm always willing to give the benefit of the doubt, but now we're a year after essentially you purchased the league, and we basically have heard nothing except for the CFL stuff. And actually, we heard that before it was released to the public. He also says, I think XFL needs to sue Major League Baseball for Cleveland for taking the Guardians name. So they took the Guardians name, but I get it. It's a different sport. All right, I get you there. Also, the Washington football team taking the Defenders name. Totally agree. So the Guardians name is taken. All that research and money. Again, Cleveland Guardians seems so weird. And then you have Washington football team taking the DC Defenders name. What's going on? I'm just going to call myself, I'm going to change my name to XFL. I'm not even going to name Mark Perry anymore. I'm just going to call myself XFL. That's it. It would just be like Madonna or Cher or Bono. Bono? What's his name? Sonny Bono. Bono. Edge. Right? Is he the other guitarist from whatever? So thanks, Jarrett, checking in on the Facebooks. Appreciate that. On to our live chat. Mega J says, is the NFL really up to these shenanigans again? Yes. And they can do it because they're the NFL and they're worth billions. If I'm the NFL and I'm like, ooh, I like that name. That league doesn't exist anymore. I'm going to take it. Even though there's somebody that owns it. Heck, the Redbird Capital could just sell the DC Defenders name to the NFL for $15 million and get their money back and be like, we're done. We got our money back. Didn't cost us a thing. We got to meet The Rock and hang out with Danny Garcia. Great, but we're out. We just used the name sold it to the NFL, made $15 million, and now we're good to go. You can even use our logo. You can use our logo, which is a great logo. It says, I guess they believe DC Defenders is distinguished from Washington Defenders. I mean, just what a mess. What a mess. If that thing is a top three finalist, now I'm going to really blow a gasket. Nicholas says, I'm still holding hope. Might have to take a break from XFL news until there is news to talk about. That's what we're doing here on the show. Warning you guys now. We got Monday Night Football. Forget about WWE Monday Night Raw. AEW is better. Did you see CM Punk in AEW, which is awesome? I can go back to working on, I was doing a pro wrestling AEW podcast. How much more fun would that be? CM Punk, rumored Daniel Bryan might be in there, and Bryan Danielson might be going there. They got some good shows. Things are looking up. I've been doing this XFL thing. Mega J says, I think we just need to wait. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm true. The Raging Dolphins Maniac. They should name them the Washington Warhawks. That's a cool name. Or like some military thing. Like you own the rights to like B-52 or Tomahawks or, something like that. He says, it's impossible. The XFL cannot get a TV streaming deal. And I agree with that. XFL Fan Talk says Jordan Ta'amu has been released. I didn't see that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Isaiah says maybe TBS or TNT could make a TV deal with the XFL. I don't know there. I think the XFL is trying to build assets right now instead of getting on the field. Slow and steady wins the race, Mega J says. We will find out there. Let's get to some of that social media fun, shall we? Some good chats on the social media stuff, on the live chats. Appreciate everybody who's checking in. I don't want to waste your time either. You guys got stuff to do. I'm hanging out, watching football, and I love that you guys have joined, but I also don't want to waste your time when I have nothing to talk about. Cadero says, talking about the UFL, says LMAO, a scam rebranded. Yeah, lots of players lost money this group. Bryce said, agree with that as well. About Jordan Ta'amu, Craig says, why are we talking about Detroit Lions? They got rid of Matthew Stafford and they still suck. Let's talk about Dak and the Cowboys destroying Tampa Bay on September 9th. See, people are already starting to talk about the NFL. I want to talk about the XFL. Now, apparently, he got cut again. This one was on about the our Markcast podcast. GB Hayes says, you know what? Until the new XFL season starts, I'm done following anything with these leagues. He's very angry. I'm with you there. At It's Me, Pocono Pete, XFL Pete. He said, is the official XFL app gone? Now, I checked this, and it's still there. Oh, no, it is not on. You cannot download the app. It still works on my phone, but you cannot download the app. Our app is still up there. And that old gaming app, remember they did that game, like, oh, you download this and bring it to the game, and you can win prizes. I tried it a little bit. That app is still on there, too. But, yes, the official XFL app is off the store. I don't know when that happened. But that was a good pickup there. Richard O for real says, great article about this UFL scam, but how the hell does this guy keep putting in these scams? He should not be able to start a league. Somebody should put a stop to this and pray players, coaches don't fall for this. People, please don't go to USFL official. Hopefully the XFL, not this. Bleep. Yes, that's why we're out there, and I appreciate Josh Davis putting that stuff out there to really kind of spread the word about these leagues, and that's just trying to protect the players. About that, our podcast last week, Tall Tales Truth, at Tall Tales Truth says, can we just time machine 2022 and move to 2023? I agree. It's been forever. It has been forever. Some kind of XFL news. And will Dwayne The Rock Johnson play in the XFL? My bookie, this is from Oddshark. Pocono Pete says, should be a third option. Will there ever be an XFL game? That would be the best bet. I mean, you can see right here the frustration that your fellow XFL fans have at this point, including yours truly. I'm not hiding it. This is just the way it is. There's been nothing. I mean, just you could tweet something out. You have enough staff to just drum up some interest, to just do a couple tweets here and there. It's been nothing but radio silence because I think this might, you're letting the NFL just take your football name. I don't get it. On to the YouTubes. Chris says, who bought or is in talks for buying the Stampeders? Love the idea of spring football currency coins. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you want to sell me the XFL, not for $15 million, maybe $15, we can start a cryptocurrency coin and then maybe use that to fund our league and get things going. You wouldn't need a TV deal. Just a little idea I had there. He says, MLFB masters of the low-key non-updates. One day it will show TV up on TV and not one previous announcement. Yeah. Theodore says, sorry to hear you're feeling deflated, Mark. Hopefully there's good XFL news. Theodore King checking in. Appreciate that. I'm even worse. That was last week's show. This is this week's show. I'm even worse. Isaiah says, well, that's great for the MLFB. I would put everybody from the XFL and AAF when it comes to players and coaches. Also, there's stock for, you can buy stock for this stuff, but I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that sucker is going anywhere. Just my opinion. You're free to do what you want. Again, a lot of talk about these leagues, but no one's executed. It just shows you how hard. I really thought XFL, Danny Garcia, The Rock, Redbird Capital was your combo to just take it to the house. And I've told you guys this from the beginning. If you're not having any kind of announcement soon, a CFO, when season tickets, if you're not selling anything during Christmas time and you're expected to start ramping things off in the new year, I'm not feeling you, because then the time crunch, all right, if you're like, we're going to turn on the lights January 1st. Okay. You need to hire coaches. You need to start doing that stuff in the fall. And you need to start having tryouts and camps and start to sell tickets in the spring. You need to ramp that stuff up now. September 1st at the latest. So you have this week and next week to throw on a big announcement just before Labor Day that says we just hired so-and-so, and make a big thing about it and let this guy, get out there and start talking about it and let's get the ball rolling. But until then, we're not doing anything. And just to be honest, I've done this before where I'm like, I'm done, and then something big happens. So fingers crossed, something big happens. Let's get back to more your social stuff. XFL fan talk. Nah, I would be over the top pissed if the XFL never starts up again. Me too. I mean, y'all seem to live XFL, but bleep. I've been in all about the XFL since the bleep. The forced the league to close their doors. Turn this off. Forced to close the doors. So I'm pretty sure guys like you and everybody else that do all this research would be pissed off as well. Absolutely. This when I saw that NFL, when I saw the Defenders as a name for the Washington football team, which if I was them, I would use. And I wouldn't be so shocked if that's the number 3 on that list, which didn't really tell me. That's when I was like, dude, this is a football team in D.C. and they just took your name. You own the rights to it right now. You can go into the patent trademark office and be like, this is our trademark. You can't use this. And Washington football team knows it. People that worked in the XFL, there's relationships between those two. They know you exist. And the fact that they put it on a list, not one, you're telling me that somebody from the XFL, if they wanted to put a stop to it, could have sent an email or a phone call and be like, this is ours, right? Maybe is the NFL bullying them? I don't know. We'll give benefit of the doubts for so long. Hashtag Isaiah Harris says, hashtag XFL players. Yes, love to see some of that. Let's see. Mega J51. I love spring football, but MLFB is at the bottom of my spring league rankings, subject to change. XFL, AAF, USFL, TSL, MLFB. Where's the CFL? CFL News Hub. That's a good spot. There's actually football games being talked about on there. If you want to talk about football, and the games have been great. The pace is the XFL style pace. The rules are a little different. I've gotten a little adjusted to it, and I don't mind them at all. Let's go. And I think if the XFL was in desperate need of a partnership, they could have been like, we'll take all your rules and whatever. We just want to join you and be, the American expansion. But I don't think that that's what their plan is. I still think that there's something big coming. But that hope and excitement is waning quickly in my view. Finally, to an email. Let's get to an email here about the potential buyer of the CFL's Calgary Stampeders having an XFL connection. It says, think about this. Is Carlos says, think about this. The Rock buys the Stamps. The Rock then buys the Lions, who actually were just purchased. Argos in Montreal about becoming part of the XFL. If they all say yes, the other 4 teams would fold, allowing the XFL to come in and take them over to join the XFL. This would be a brilliant move. Then they would put in their own rules, and you would have a full 16-team league. Brilliant move on the part of The Rock. It's like the Trojan horse in the Battle of Troy. Well, we got the BC Lions guy. I think he's 100% Canadian. I don't think he would have any interest. Based on some little comments as he's made, not a lot. I don't think he has any interest in the XFL, so they would be out. But you never know. You never know with these things. But yeah, that would be shocking news. That would be big news. We'd be back if the Rock purchased the Calgary Stampeders. But I'm not. And nothing would surprise me. Again, I think the XFL will kick off, and then Space Aliens will come down and ruin all the league. I've said that before. Jokingly, people, I joke, I kid. I'm not serious when I talk about this stupid stuff. I'm not, come on, relax. It's not that serious. I joke around all the time. I wouldn't be. Nothing would surprise me, but if I was a betting man, I don't know if I'm taking that bet right now. I'm not feeling that bet right now. Let's go to our friends in the chat room real quick. The Raging Dolphins Mania 6, when I hear these stories, I can't help but think of a merger is inevitable. A merger with who, though? Who would they merge with? Isaiah says, thoughts on the USFL, MLFB, Freedom Football League, and FCF. Not a fan of the FCF per se. USFL is the one thing that we would cover here if and when that comes back. At all intents and purposes, it is coming back. The USFL, they did at least some kind of announcement with Fox. They'll be back. We'll cover that. But again, I think it's going to be the Spring League with the skin of the USFL on top of it. I don't think it's going to be a big shift, season ticket holders, that kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We haven't heard anything from them either. XFL Fan Talk says those leagues keep pushing back their date back. Kind of makes me think they aren't going to start either. I hope they go with the Defenders name. It will be good for the XFL. I hope they go with the Defenders name. It would be good for the XFL. I don't think so. And Moses says, is kickoff still 2023? That's what they're saying. But I'm not sure I'm buying that anymore, my friends. All right. That's it for this week's show. Thanks for checking in. Remember to smash that like button right now. We can get some more likes. We got more chat roomer people than we do have likes. Let's get some likes on this show. Get it out there in the YouTube algorithm. We appreciate everybody for stopping by. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, it is XFL, a podcast at XFL News Hub with your MP3s or videos, or call 888-430-7692, extension 3. And remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We appreciate that as well. And, of course, always give us a like and subscribe. You can also subscribe to our CFL show. We are now everywhere on any kind of downloadable podcast platform. Just look up CFL News Hub show. We got our show on there. Come and join us on Wednesdays. We talk CFL football. It's a lot of fun. But I know you guys here, we want to talk about XFL. Well, we're going to take a break. We got Monday Night Football. But when there is some good XFL and USFL news, because those are the two things I know you guys want to talk about, we'll come back on. You'll get the alert. Make sure you like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so as soon as news comes out, we will go live with it. Now, this doesn't mean XFL News Hub won't be covering anything. We're still writing. It's just this show in particular, Mondays at 8 p.m. I'm going to take a little break until we actually have something big and interesting to talk about. I'm not going to do another interview with my dog because that's just ridiculous. Thanks for everybody in the chat room for checking in. You can leave us a review. Make sure you do that. You can check our podcast on anywhere you can get podcast stuff. Show notes, xflnewshub.com/xfl-podcast. That's it for me, folks, my friends. Hopefully, next time we chat, we'll have some good news. And I will see you all later.